Okay, now we are on to a movie that I did not like when it first came out. I'm serious, like, I didn't see it in theaters, and when I saw the DVD, or the movie on DVD, I just didn't care for it. I don't know, like, something about this just feels worse than the first movie, because the first movie was simple. Okay, yeah, compared to the last few movies, that could be a problem, but simple isn't always bad. This one, felt a little all over the place. Let's just get into the movie. The movie begins with the four turtles doing parkour. And what for? Well, one, they're stopping off to get pizza, and second, they're going to a basketball game. And it is at this game where we get a little brief summary of what happened shortly after the end of the last movie. For one, the Shredder's defeat was made public on the news, and second, the Turtles let someone else take the fall for the Shredder's defeat. Yep, April's lame co-worker friend from the last movie is who they chose to take the fall for defeating the Shredder. Yeah, this movie's off to a great start, isn't it? Well, we at least got to see the Turtles shooting spitballs at him. That was amusing for a tiny bit. During the game, we do keep coming back and forth to April trying to get information out of Baxter Stockman, and you know what, I'm not gonna lie, this entire scene is entirely cringe, so I'm just gonna skip right over and tell you what happens after. Mikey accidentally drops a piece of pizza under the cord, leading to the Turtles having to leave in frustration because they were having a good time. When, while they're leaving, they get news from April that the Foot Clan is planning to break out the Shredder. And when we see the Shredder getting detained, oh for God's sake. You're telling me they couldn't even get the same actor from the last movie to play Shredder in this? Come on! And the person who's set to transport him is Casey Jones. And even he's not entertaining in this movie. He's not the fun street vigilante we all know him as. He's just some annoying cop who wants to be detective. That's it. The Turtles decide to follow the convoy to make sure Shredder gets sent to prison properly in a garbage truck that looks very similar to the one they had in Ninja Turtles Back to the Sewer. And we also learned that even Karai's actress was replaced. In all honesty, this is starting to get annoying, and already I don't like this movie as is. Anyways, the Foot Clan show up to take over the truck and free Shredder, but thankfully the Turtles aren't too far behind. And I will admit, the truck is kind of cool that I could shoot manhole covers, and it has extractable arms, which are giant nunchucks. However, this is the only time in the movie the truck is used, and the nunchuck break really quickly, so it makes me wonder why they even bothered. And despite their best efforts, the Shredder does get away in a portal, which the Foot Clan did plan to have him send right back to them, but instead he got sent somewhere else. To be more specific, he ended up getting sent to Krang, and okay, I'll be honest, the one thing I do like about this movie that I do like Krang's design. I don't know why, I feel like they got it right in terms of transitioning him to live action, especially with his robot body. Despite this, his opening scene is just giant exposition about what he wants. Basically, his ship crashed on Earth, it broke into 3 parts, and now he needs those 3 parts to bring the Technodrome to Earth. That is literally the fastest way I could explain what happens here. And he gives Shredder a canister of mutagen to use to create a mutant army to help with the mission. We also find out later that 2 other thugs from the truck were also set free, their names being Bebop and Rocksteady, and Shredder recruits them for the mission that Krang gave him. The Turtles, on the other hand, are mostly chilling back at the lair trying to figure out what to do next. And Leonardo's been getting more and more frustrated with them, wondering if he's even a good leader. Which leads to a part of the movie I'm not quite fond of. I will get to that later. Heck, even Casey's trying to look for clues on where Shredder is. And I'm not gonna lie, for a cop, he's kinda crooked when he decides to break this place apart. He does eventually get what he needs, but frankly with what he did, I'm surprised he even still had the job. We thankfully don't have to wait too long to see Shredder use the mutagen on them, and I'm not gonna lie, the live-action versions of Bebop and Rocksteady don't look too bad. Granted, I wish they were in a better movie. April does see what happens and ends up stealing a small vial of the mutagen just so the Turtles can examine it and see what to do. While being chased, she does get cornered in an alleyway, and Casey Jones does come to her rescue, and okay, this is the only time in the movie where we do see him in the hockey mask. And frankly, I think he only did this just so the fans can look at him and say, oh, okay, that's Casey. Mostly because he barely resembles Casey Jones at all in this movie. He does quickly meet the turtles, and they get him up to speed on who they are, while also having Splinter beat him up for fun. While doing some experiments on the sample April got, Donatello learned something interesting. If it can turn humans into animals, the stuff can technically turn the turtles into humans, which he demonstrates on his hand. Granted, with a small sample, so it only worked briefly. And it's around here where you'll understand why I don't like Leonardo in this movie. Because Donatello points out the positives this stuff can do, and even Mikey listens in on it and tells Raph, and frankly, 3 out of the 4 turtles are all for becoming humans to have normal lives, but Leonardo, instead of giving more rational answers, he just kind of treats them all like crap about it and says this.
There's only one vote that counts in this family. Mine.
It was also around this time that Shredder finds another piece of Krang's ship. He actually had one earlier, which is how they're able to build the teleporter in the first place. But now he has another piece of it. Leo and Donnie do go to investigate what Shredder stole, or at least the canister it was in, just so they can get some clues on where they should be going to find the next piece. And also around this time, Mikey and Raph decide to break into the police station because they took another canister of mutagen that was dropped earlier. Everything goes fine at first, until we quickly discover that the Foot Clan got there first. They end up calling Leo and Donnie for backup, but when they get there, the entire police force sees them. And that goes as well as you'd expect it would. Anyways, after that happens, Donatello finds another one of the alien ship fragments, but unfortunately, it's in Brazil. And Bebop and Rocksteady are already there and have already acquired the piece. But thankfully the turtles were able to hitch a ride on a plane. That so happened to be flying over Bebop and Rocksteady's plane on the way back to New York. And it's around here where the turtles finally meet Bebop and Rocksteady. Like, it's been over an hour and they just now have an interaction with them? Well, I can't complain for too long because I'll admit the fight here is actually really good. And I'm not joking about this being the best fight in the movie. Like, for one, they're in a crashing plane that crashed into the water, and while they're in the water, Bio and Rox are shooting at them in a tank while they're trying to get the piece. Why can't the entire movie be this fun? Despite how fun that was, the turtles fail, and Leonardo again be the jerk to all of them. We then cut back to April and Casey, who are captured by the police chief, who was without a doubt a full-on Karen in this movie. I'm serious, every scene with Casey and this police chief are honestly the worst parts of the movie. And with their free phone call, they call Vernon, who is selling bags of his breath to people. Let me get into why this is not funny. Okay, here's why I don't find this funny. It's mostly because, with how celebrities are nowadays, I could picture someone doing this for money, like, without a joke. And there are already some people selling bath water to people, so I don't know, like, if this was something you couldn't picture in real life, I can see it being funny. But the fact that I can legit picture a celebrity doing this is what makes it hard to watch, and it's mostly just cringe. It doesn't take too much convincing to get Vernon to help them get footage to prove they're innocent, and it leads to more unfunny slapstick with a character I did not care for in this movie. Like, even in the last movie I didn't care about him, so why the hell are we getting so much focus on him? But thankfully it doesn't take too long to get the footage. And then we get more of Leo being a jerk to his brothers. Man, this movie really knows what people want to see. And if you couldn't tell I was being sarcastic, this movie is really annoying. And finally we get back to the story where Shredder actually gets the device working to bring the Technodrome over to New York City. Which, I'm not gonna lie, the device looks kinda cool. Then we cut to Vernon giving the police chief the footage they need to free Casey and April. Yeah, I still don't care about these characters at all. And once the portal is open, we actually see something that's kind of interesting. Instead of the Technodrome coming all at once, it's actually coming in piece by piece. I'm not gonna lie, that's actually kind of clever. But before they go to fight, they have another argument about whether or not they should become human. And they decide not to do it. Not gonna lie, I kind of wish they did, at least briefly, around the halfway point of the movie. Kind of like what Shrek did with the second film, but here they don't really do anything with it, unfortunately. And then off screen, Casey, April, and Vernon somehow convince the police to work with the turtles to fight Krang. Yeah, I'm actually serious. There is not a scene where they try to explain this. And then finally, we see Shredder put his helmet on. Yeah, no joke, he does not wear his famous helmet until near the end of the movie. And he doesn't even wear it for a long time. Like, he meets up with Krang, Krang frees him, puts him in a vault, and then that's it. That's all we see of the Shredder in this movie. We then start cutting between Casey, April, and the Turtles back and forth during the climax, and I'm not gonna lie, this climax feels a little drawn out. And I'm not gonna lie, it's really lame that Casey's the one that defeats Bebop and Rocksteady, even though the Turtles only ever fought them once in this movie, and yet a human takes them out? Come on. And the fight with Krang is not much better to begin with anyway. I mean, there is some enjoyment to be had, but not much. Anyways, once that's done and over with, they send the beacon holding the Technodrome in Earth, sending it back to Dimension X, and instead of destroying it, they just send it back piece by piece. Not gonna lie, it's kind of interesting to see this instead of them blowing it up like in every other Michael Bay movie you would watch. And with that, the movie ends with April reporting on what happened. Okay, how did she even get her job back? They never explained that. And the Turtles getting keys to the city.
I got one of those. No big deal.
Obviously not if they're giving one to you! The police chief even offers to give the Turtles a chance at a life living with the humans, but they decide not to, and the movie ends with them standing in the Statue of Liberty. And that's the movie. Okay, granted in the credits we do get a cool cover of the original cartoon theme song, but let me explain why I don't really like this movie. Okay, now that I've watched the movie again, I can say, yeah, it's just as bad as I remember it. And the weird thing is, I hear people like this movie more than the first one, and I don't really get it. It's like, if you enjoy the film, fine, I won't stop you. Enjoy it to your heart's content, but for me, I don't know, it feels a little too all over the place. Like, the plot doesn't seem to stop for anything, and I don't know. It also kind of feels like just a checklist of stuff people wanted to see in a Ninja Turtles movie for years, and it feels like they focused more on that than making a good movie. Like, for one, people want to see the Turtles in a van with weapons. We got that. People wanted Bebop and Rocksteady. People wanted Casey Jones back. People wanted Krang. People wanted the Technodrome. We got all that in the movie. I feel like it prioritized that over telling a good story. Well, I'm done with this movie. And if you're going to ask, I'll just tell you, there is something I did like about this movie. Well, aside from the few things I mentioned in the video. One, this DVD actually came with some cool turtle masks. But unfortunately, I can't find them, so this DVD is more or less useless to me. Oh well, at least the next movie is going to have Batman in it.